Well, maybe pigs really do fly. Jon Stewart and Comedy Central are calling out Democrat hypocrisy like never before. All at the same time, Kamala's poll numbers are imploding. Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, and we're going to start off the day having some fun watching the left eat itself. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's dive right in.
On short notice, exploited their newfound momentum and enthusiasm with a display of the breadth and width of this diverse, often contradictory party of Roosevelt. At their convention, they had union leaders and CEOs. They had Democratic Party icons and lifelong Republicans. They had a guy yelling, "Screw the billionaires," followed immediately by a very happy billionaire. It's all okay if it's our billionaire.
Now, what's so amazing about that clip is not just the hypocrisy, the Democrat hypocrisy that was called out by Jon Stewart, but it was also the audience's enthusiastic reaction. Did you hear that? And that got a huge applause line. And it reminds me of when Stephen Colbert tried to feign the notion of CNN's objectivity in covering news stories. You remember that? And his entire audience just broke out in laughter when he said it. It caught him completely off guard. He wasn't expecting that. He actually tried to pass that off. That CNN's a totally objective news network. He tried to pass that off as a matter of fact. Everybody knows that. And the irony is, with the audience laughing at that comment, the comment itself was exposed as fake news, just as fake as CNN is. In contrast to Stephen Colbert, Jon Stewart seems to be tracking with the more popular sentiments of his audience. The Democrats weren't fooling anyone that week. Bernie Sanders is a friend to billionaires because Bernie Sanders is part of what Joel Kotkin calls a neo-feudalist society where billionaires and bureaucrats have aligned together to amass an unprecedented amount of power and affluence in the hands of very, very few. Bernie Sanders is a part of this bureaucrat billionaire realignment, and he's not fooling anyone, least of all Jon Stewart and his audience.
They had guys making fun of people for going to Yale and a bunch of people who went to Yale. The Democrats had people who prosecuted sexual predators and...
Now, again, keep in mind, gang, this is not a Republican audience here. In fact, it's largely a Democrat audience. And yet Jon Stewart knew that a joke like that would resonate with them, with a predominantly Democrat audience. Now, we often talk on this channel about a phenomenon known as partisan de-alignment. Scholars have noticed that over the last 10 to 15 years, more and more voters are losing any sense of allegiance or loyalty to either one of the two major political parties. And so, ironically, a liberal audience will increasingly finding themselves mocking and ridiculing the Democrats almost as much as they might mock and disdain the Republicans. And no one exemplifies the propensity towards de-alignment more than Bill Clinton, who was, of course, once the leader, indeed the standard bearer, of the very political party that ended up years later embracing the Me Too movement, a movement ironically inspired by the very sexually abusive acts that Clinton was most notoriously guilty of. So you couldn't possibly support a party embedded with a hypocritical leadership like that. So to his credit, Jon Stewart perceived that. He recognized that his audience would indeed be receptive to mocking such a blatant hypocrite like Bill Clinton at the Democrat convention. That kind of de-alignment, I think, is a very promising and healthy development in our nation's politics. But wait until you see what Jon Stewart said next because it strikes at the very core of the modern Democrat Party. Hey, gang, you need to stop putting off what you know you need to do, and that's click on that link below right now and secure the deed to your home once and for all. Just bite the bullet. That's all you got to do to protect your most valuable asset, which is your home. The deed to your home is the only document that proves you own it, but the problem is that the deeds to all our homes are now online, and they're unsecure. Criminals are free to find your deed, forge your signature, refile as the new owner of your home, take out tons of loans using your home's equity, and then they stick you with all the debt. But that's where our good friends over at Home Title Lock come in, gang. They're amazing. They've been with this channel for over a year now. Home Title Locks gives you the peace of mind that the deed to your home is absolutely and completely protected 24/7. Click on that link below right now. Use promo code Turley Talks, and all you got to do is just enter your address in for a no-obligation home title scan to see if you've already been a victim of deed theft. It's a $100 value, absolutely, totally free with my promo code Turley Talks. Don't wait for the worst to happen, only to regret you didn't do something about it when you could have. Like now, do what I've done, do what countless patriots have done. Click on that link below right now and secure your home today.
They had black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, gay Americans, Jewish Americans, Palestinian Americans. To be fair, it was only 4 nights, 8 hours a night.
Now, again, that was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. Make no mistake, that hit home with many members of that audience. Pro-Palestinian progressives were completely shut out of the Democrat convention. Every single other political constituency within that bizarre Democrat coalition got a voice on that stage, as Jon Stewart pointed out in that litany there. But not a single pro-Palestinian voice was allowed, not one. And so Stewart is pointing out that pro-Palestinian progressives, that wing of the Democrat Party, remains extremely disenfranchised. And that does not bode well in places like Dearborn, Michigan, that have the highest concentration of Muslim and Arab Americans in the nation. Joe Biden won Dearborn in 2020 with 70% of the vote. But then in the 2024 primaries, he actually lost Dearborn to an uncommitted write-in protest vote. So we'll have to see if that sense of alienation and disenfranchisement that was on display at the Democrat convention for everyone to see, we'll have to see if that costs Kamala significantly in places like Michigan.
And the Democrats were hitting all the right notes. The cameraman? Not so much.
When a house is on fire, we don't ask about the homeowner's race or religion. No. We just try to do the best we can to save them. And if the place happens to belong to a childless cat lady,
Now, I don't know what's going on with Jon Stewart. Gang, I'm under no illusions that he's going to be voting for Donald Trump in November. But that monologue was bold. It took risks that Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel would never take. It mocked and ridiculed the party of the establishment. It mocked and ridiculed the party of billionaires and bureaucrats, the party that claims that it's diverse. At the same time, it deliberately disenfranchises and shuts out. The party that claims to be open while deliberately censoring and suppressing. The party that, up until recently, billed itself as the party of peace that's now bringing us to the brink of World War III. There was so much to mock and ridicule in terms of the blatant hypocrisies that came out of that ridiculous convention. Who would ever have thought that such mocking would come from the likes of Jon Stewart and the audience at Comedy Central?